Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
I really liked it. There was a lot of venture capital, a lot of intellectual capital in Boston. And so that was my area for a while.
Right.
Medical device, biotech, information systems, financial services. And consulting is fun because it keeps the active curiosity always going because you're always learning. And then once you solve the riddle, then you get to move on to the next challenge. So there's a quick path to boredom for my brain. And what's fascinating, people don't really get this, but when people say, I don't really know what to do, I'll lean people towards an MBA. I said, an MBA is cool because you can work in almost any sector in the world. And if you have the foundation, you understand how the chess pieces work. The difference is what's the variables of the industry. So what's the industry variables in biotech versus, facial aesthetics versus financial services versus, transportation.
Right.
But you're always looking at a SWOT analysis. You're always looking at the competitive matrix. You're always looking at price sensitivity, target market segmentation. So you just plug and play. So all of that was happening. In 2007, I was asked by Credit Suisse DLJ Merchant Banking to look at a target in California. And so for the next 4 or 5 months, we did our diligence, presented a 147-page investment thesis to the investment committee on Wall Street, and then went on the path of securing funds from 6 banks, and then led the execution of the largest private equity acquisition in the history of the dental industry. Now, the dental industry, I know much about the dental industry, and it's a unique one. There's a lot of different psychodynamics in there. So this is the biggest acquisition in the history, and it was a company in Santa Maria, California. And January 6th, 2008, we consummated the deal and then spent the next year and a half executing the growth strategy and doing all that stuff. And then early 2008, we kind of started seeing things kind of falling apart in finance world. And in private equity, you saw a shift away from M&A. It was portfolio management and triage, trying to keep companies from going insolvent.
Right.
So the timing was really weird. And so by 2009, I had in April stepped down from that role because I had done my piece and I had the boredom piece factor. And then serendipitously for me, the neuroscientist who invented NuCalm contacted our firm in June of 2009. And then by October, after 10 weeks of diligence and then flying down to Texas and actually trying the technology, decided, hey, this is something big is happening here. I almost felt like Indiana Jones in an archaeological dig. Something's big here. The pieces aren't clear yet. But I'll tell you what resonated with Dr. Holloway. So here's a gentleman who has the intellectual genius amongst geniuses. I mean, he was a super freak on the intellect. I mean, just amazingly gifted. But he had a Southern drawl, which disarmed the Wall Street banker in me. He said, Jim, I've invented a technology that quickly and safely relaxes the mind and body within minutes with no side effects. Now that I'd never heard that. I never heard that before. No one had ever put those words together in a sentence. So my brain immediately thought of marijuana. I thought, well, no, marijuana has side effects. You lose sense of time, you laugh at stupid shit, your mouth gets dry, your eyes gloss over, you have the munchies. Those are side effects.
Right.
So that was conceptually what was brought to me. And upon reflection, the whole thing is weird, like a universal intervention, because there's nobody in their right mind would ever suspect that I would ever say yes. Second conversation with a neuroscientist inventor. Early on in the consulting world, of M&A work, I chose never to work directly with an inventor.
Mm.
There's a disease called inventoritis.
Mm-hmm.
Inventors can't separate their ego and their attachment from their baby. I don't blame them for it. It's their baby.
Right.
But there's a reason that you need help. A lot of times inventors don't have the business acumen or whatever that is. So Blake at that point probably was at a place because he was basically insolvent, that he was maybe eating humble pie. I don't know, but
Yeah, probably.
he was at a place where it just made perfect sense. And for the duration of my work with him and our collaboration, he never butted into the business side. So when I first met Blake, I was kind of compelled to fly down to Texas. You know, when you're on the phone with somebody and you're hearing all this incredible stuff that can happen, immediately as a skeptical human consumer, you're like, none of this sounds true because it sounds too good to be true. And I've been burned a million, false claim companies. So I can't believe anything you're saying. But furthermore, it was such complex neuroscience, I didn't understand half the words he was using anyway. So it's almost a perplexing puzzle. You're like, what? So I felt like I needed to go meet him, and I did. And I remember, so the first time I tried this technology that later became NuCalm, I had just flown in from international travel. I was jet lagged. I was in a doctor's office, and it was about a 30-minute experience. And I'm lying there, and at some point, relatively soon, I just feel like my body's like gone. Like I don't know where my arms are. And I remember having a really bad itch on my nose. And my mind is kind of wandering. My body is like immobilized. And I'm like, you have an itch on your nose. And you'd be like, who cares? And then my mind would wander and I'm like, you have an itch on your nose. Itch your nose. I'm like, I don't even know if I have arms. I don't think I can itch my nose. I remember that today, 15 years later. Really profound experience. I got up from the experience and I was like, okay, I have no idea what you did, but I feel amazing. There's no reason I should feel this mentally clear, this energized. And I had 4 discs taken out of my spine in 1999. So I was an immobilized, relatively cripple. And I remember throwing a crescent kick over Dr. Holloway's head. I felt like Gumby. My body felt loose. I felt amazing. So the next day, I spend 8 hours in a boardroom with Dr. Holloway, and he whiteboards the technology. It's not a mystery. It actually follows a logic path. So now I'm starting to think, hey, we might be onto something here. I remember he said, Jim, can I do something to you? And I said, sure. And he does all these hand movements. He says, follow my fingers. And then he looks at me and says, you have traumatic brain injury. I said, who the hell are you? And he said, no, seriously, when you're 50, Jim, you're not going to be able to tie your shoes. I said, well, I had 14 hospitalized concussions. I broke everything in my body. I broke my neck playing football. I wrestled for 20 years. I played football. I did martial arts. I've destroyed this body and my brain. I probably had 20 concussions where I didn't go to the hospital. So it doesn't surprise me, Doc. He said, I'm going to make an agreement with you. I'm going to keep you healthy if you make me wealthy. We shook hands, and that was our agreement. That was our path.
That's awesome.
And I didn't know, 15 years later, I didn't know that that was the seminal moment where everything kind of just fell into place. So when you are turned on to something so cool and predicated on real, like logic, but could be so grandiose, your brain can't really interpret any of this. There's too many moving parts. It's too big for your brain to really understand. And so at that point, I didn't know that this would become a full-time gig. I thought I could just put it in our portfolio and manage it as part of a company. So we had intellectual property attorneys do an assessment of the enterprise and the patent that was in process. And now intellectual property attorneys don't have a proclivity for hyperbole. They're not going to come and tell you a grandiose story. It's one of the drier elements of the law profession. And they came back to us and said, if you get this patent, you will own the only patent in the world for a technology that can lower human stress without drugs. I was like, that, Mike, was the anchor. Holy shit. We're onto something profound.
Yeah.
If we can get this patent, it showcases that, the patent process, 2 things you have to do as a company. You have to show that it never existed ever in the history of Earth. Secondarily, you have to show irrefutable evidence of your claims. So when they said, hey, you're going to get this, I didn't know it was going to take 5 years and research with some of the brightest scientists in the world. But So yeah, the pathway, if you said, hey, Jim, how did you get here? Everything led to my meeting Dr. Holloway. Every failure, every success, every left turn, every turn where I should have gone right and turned left. Everything I did, from being raised by a single mom with a twin brother and a built-in best friend, being raised by two psychotherapists with the observation and pathways of empathy and listening and observation and caring, pathway into psychology myself, and then doing the Harvard Medical School piece, and then doing the Babson piece, and then putting all that together and working in all these different verticals for Wall Street and M&A and moving companies. And then everything kind of works in its fashion. You know, the financial industry collapses, M&A goes away for a while. And at that point, this mysterious neuroscientist shows up at my door with an incredible gift for humanity. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So it got to that path where on October 26, 2009, I stepped into this role as chairman of the board, president and CEO of a company that is now poised to literally change how humans manage their state of mind. I mean, it's still, the profundity of it is still beyond my capacity to understand in its fullest sense. But I remember in 2011, I was having dinner in San Antonio, Texas with an investment banker. And he said, Jim, one day, I don't know when, you're going to walk into a restaurant and everybody's going to look at you and whisper and say, that's the man who brought NuCalm to the world. So he saw it 14 years ago, right? What Dr. Holloway invented has never been invented before. What Dr. Holloway invented will change how you and me and everybody on this earth manage our state of mind. So allow me to share a quick story.
Absolutely.
Okay. Since the dawn of humankind, since we were knuckle draggers in a cave, and even before that, humans have either discovered or created ways to change their state of mind. Now, I suspect 99% of humans don't even think about this and never have. But today, if you're feeling mentally lethargic and you want your brain to fire faster, you'll have Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, Red Bull, 5-Hour Energy, Monster Energy, any type of accelerant. Now, this isn't magic. It simply increases the brainwave frequency. If we're feeling in psychic pain or having a terrible day, we may have a glass of wine. People may engage in recreational drugs, may smoke, joint or vape or whatever. If we're feeling anxious, we'll take anti-anxiety pills. If we're feeling depressed, we'll take antidepressants. If we're feeling like we're not sleeping well, we'll take a sleeping pill. Think about this. Every aspect of our life, we're using external stimulation to regulate our brainwave function. We're not even aware of this. Well, Blake invented something that stops all of that. Going right to the source, understanding the complexity of the brain, but also understanding the math and logic of the brain. Your brain, my brain, and everybody's brain has the same operating system. This is fascinating to me. There's a fabric that connects each of us, all 8.4 billion of us. You know why? Because we all have an amygdala. We all have an autonomic nervous system. We all have a prefrontal cortex. We all oscillate in the same frequency range. Your brain and my brain oscillate in a frequency range of 41 hertz. And in that range are 5 categories. Delta, theta, and alpha are slow waveforms, big amplitude in sleep. And then beta and gamma are faster. So understanding that piece, Dr. Holloway said, I can help people with complex trauma and addiction if I can find a way to predictably and safely slow down everybody's brainwave and hold it in this sweet spot called theta, which is just above deep sleep and is a frequency range of 4 hertz to 7 hertz. If the brain can get there and stay there, the body knows how to heal itself. It's our monkey mind, our fear, our high frequency, distraction, worry that gets in the way. That's what he invented. It took him 19 years. Now, this man, he passed away 4 years ago this week. This man had the intellectual capacity of like 100 of the brightest people I've ever met put together in one room. I mean, he was a super freak of genius. And there was almost nothing he didn't know exceptional amounts of, except for sports. He had no interest in sports. So if you wanted to play Trivial Pursuit with him, if sports, you win. Everything else, you're done. And so it took him 19 years Think about the persistence and perseverance of a gentleman who's going to spend 19 years in scientific discovery, trial and error, just trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
But the brain, because of the complexity of the brain, we have compensatory mechanisms. You can do nothing to your brain without it reacting. Every action has a reaction. So you have to think through, if I want to do this, all the manifestations. So he spent 19 years inventing the technology behind NuCalm.
Wow.
So what is NuCalm? NuCalm isn't a mystery. It's not a myth. It's not magic. It's math and it's physics.
Mhm.
It doesn't get more fundamentally science than that. Essentially, there are two ways to trick the human brainwave function to accelerate or decelerate the frequency of your brain. Visual stimulation, which was made famous by pocket watch, Sigmund Freud. This is called frequency following response.
Right.
A frequency to elicit a response. But about 30% or more of the population can avoid that stimulation. Auditory motor cortex delivers the other way. So we, as a technology, deliver a complex pattern and precision in electrical signaling to your brain and my brain. Brain synchronizes to and follows with exceptional precision and predictability. That's what we do. And what's cool about this, Mike, is it's a Trojan horse. Your brain and my brain doesn't want to be managed by anything.
Right.
A closed loop ecosystem. Our brain knows what we want. I want nothing. I don't want a supplement. I don't want a surgical intervention. I want nothing. Let me take care of me.
Yeah.
So it resists all these things. But when you put headphones on and you select a NuCalm track from the app, you can't hear what we're doing. So the human brain can't resist what it doesn't even know is happening.
Mhm.
So we put music on top of a bed of physics. The physics is 1, 2, 3 gigabytes of information.
Mhm.
Think about that. A song's 5 megabytes. We're bringing like 1.5 gigabytes in one track to your brain. Because of the complexity of your brain and my brain, we have to figure out all these manifestations. So we bring it, you put headphones on. If you select a rescue track, which is designed for 4 hertz, you lie down, you have an eye mask on, your mind just kind of slows down, and then you drift off into this weird, nonlinear kind of lucid dream state, and the body gets to slip into this healing state. Your breath slows down, your body becomes really heavy, and you heal on a cellular level. Dr. Holloway figured out a way for humans to stop caffeine, drugs, alcohol, anti-anxiety, Ritalin, Adderall, you name it. You don't need any of it. Literally with a mobile app, you select the outcome you want. Focus takes you to 18.4 hertz, the learning zone. Ignite takes you to 41 hertz, peak performance. Rescue takes you to 4 hertz, healing and recovery. Flow state takes you to 7.83 hertz, the creative zone, your subconscious. Deep sleep takes you to 0.5 hertz. Using physics and math in a software underneath music, we can deliver precise signals, and your brain follows it, and your brain never figures out the pattern. So in 2021, we received our second patent. The first patent was for a system and method for balancing the health of the human autonomic nervous system. It's an enormous ask of the world, and we got it. Now, we did 5 years of research with stage 4 cancer patients versus Chicago Blackhawks, and our research was evaluated by NASA mathematicians and Harvard Medical School statistical biophysicists and presented to the USPTO, and they said, okay, you have proven that none of this has ever existed before, and what you say is correct. EEG, QEEG, HRV, every measurement known to man, we did. And then in 2021, we were awarded another patent for a method used to elicit a state change in a human brain. Doesn't matter what the change is, from 0.5 hertz to sleep to 41 hertz. So that's what we've done. So here you go. You have a man who understands psychology. You have a man who understands business, and you have a man who applied for an MD PhD program in neuropsychopathology, meeting a neuroscientist who created a product in neuropsychobiology that needed help. Voila. The last 15 years of my life.
Yeah,
completely ensconced in taking care of humanity through very complex neuroscience that the world will never understand,
Yeah.
but they don't have to.
No, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's an absolute tool. And it's a tool that I've never in my life imagined that anything like this existed. And it's working for me. I've been using it for a week now, and it's working for me. I'm sleeping. I was really fortunate if I could get 5 or 6 hours sleep a night. I'm sleeping over 8.5 hours a night. And it's probably too much, but I'm sleeping. Like I'm really asleep. And I feel refreshed when I wake up. I feel like I've healed, right? And I have like, bumps and bruises and scrapes and all that kind of stuff, right? That used to take weeks to heal, and now they're healing in days, like a couple of days, 3 days, right?
But one
and
thing
they
to pay attention to, Mike, your body knows better than you.
yeah.
You really can't make the statement, I'm probably sleeping too much. You're sleeping exactly what your body demands,
Yeah.
asks for, because you wake up when you need to wake up. So the fact is, we're trying to make up for years of dysregulated, compromised sleep.
Yeah.
And you can't make up sleep debt. Your cellular structure and all the breakdowns of your cellular structure are real. Sleep is fascinating. So is stress. We don't really understand what we can't see, smell, touch, taste, feel. And we know sleep is important, because if I were to live to be 100, I should sleep for 33 years. But why is it important? Well, in the theta aspect of the sleep architecture, theta, 4 hertz, your cells are cleaning their toxins and you're doing their cellular maintenance, and your mitochondria is restored. So think about all the years that you negated good sleep. We can't make up for all of that, but we can repair you now. We can take care of you now.
Yeah.
We can take care of the stress hormone, cortisol in your stomach. We can take care of all your wounds and stuff. Sleep is how we repair mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And so for you to get 8.5 hours of sleep, it is a gift. It's a gift from Dr. Holloway to the world. 2 things that I love about it: the predictability. NuCalm will never let you down. It's math and physics. It doesn't think, hey, Mike's been a naughty guy this week. I don't think he deserves a good night's sleep. He hasn't been taking care of himself, and we're not going to, enable this bad behavior. It doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's just math and physics.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, it's easy. It's in a form of a mobile app, and deep sleep can't be any easier. You have a speaker in your bedroom, you press play on a deepest sleep track, and we put you to sleep. And more importantly for me, 56 years old with a habit of drinking too much water before bed, I'm up 2 or 3 times each night and have been since I turned 30. I'm not getting up to pee. I'm waking up at first light. Now my bladder has about 26 gallons of urine in it, and I can't even believe that I can even get to the bathroom. But I'm waking up, I'm like, I need to wake up. Here's what's cool for you as well, and this may happen already. So you're a weekend and you're starting to notice you're sleeping deeper, you're sleeping better, you're waking up having slept, which is an incredible feeling. But you're going to start dreaming again, and you're going to start dreaming very vivid, really just wild dreams. And it's going to happen every night. Every night you're going to have these dreams. What are we doing? We're bringing your brain back to the formative state it's supposed to be in, and we're negating the chaos of all these years of poor sleep. It's wild. You are in for a treat, and that gift of restorative sleep will change your life forever. Your mental acuity, your enthusiasm for your day.
So the dream thing happened last night.
And
I woke up this morning going, wow, I dreamt all night. I had dreams all night. There were lots of nights that I never had any dreams, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely crazy. And it's amazing, absolutely amazing what this has done. The technology is just incredible. And the effect that it has on you in terms of, like, I think I told you, I'm healing. Like, I'm literally watching things on my body heal. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's really an amazing, amazing technology. So I'm sure you did, whatever possessed Dr. Holloway to do what he did? Like, why did he spend 19 years on this?
Dr. Holloway unfortunately, was a victim of horrific abuse as a young boy.
Oh, no.
So he carried the burden of that, right? He was a therapist, like clinical expert in addiction and trauma in the state of Texas, outside of San Antonio. And he served thousands of veterans presenting complex trauma. And it's a great question. And of course, we asked him. And the answer was this: conventional therapy dictates that when you present to me with trauma, and your brain is always in a fast frequency, and you're always in a state of fear, and your brain is always thinking about trauma, and you're filled with anxiety, and you're living a miserable existence, then conventional therapy says, should give you a narcotic-based pharmaceutical.
Right.
Okay. And then I should sit across the desk from you and try to engage in cognitive behavioral therapy.
Right.
Clearly, conventional therapy doesn't understand the complexity of the traumatized brain.
Right.
Two things at play that don't make sense. One, fear and stress and anxiety and worry is an autonomic nervous system problem.
Okay.
Managed by the amygdala in our primordial midbrain. Okay. Our narcotic-based pharmaceutical is a central nervous system suppressant. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out, wait a second, you're giving me a solution to the wrong problem.
Right.
Or you're not addressing the problem. What you're doing is you're compressing my ability to feel.
Right.
My think. You're turning me into a vegetable.
Right.
I don't feel it. So you're not addressing the root cause. You're not going to the amygdala and the HPA axis and all going on. You're not helping me with the wiring. You're simply dulling my pain. Thank you for the Band-Aid or the baby aspirin.
Yeah, you're missing the target.
You're missing everything. It doesn't make sense. And as we all know, when you do anything to the brain compensates. Well, we call those side effects. So as soon as you start taking something, the brain has side effects to it and it normalizes it. So you always have to add further strength. So the brain says, hey, this is
because it gets used to it, right? It gets used to that dosage. Yeah.
So he said, I refuse to do that, Jim. I refuse to look across from somebody I want to help and not help them, because I know what the end game is. The end game is this person is going to take their life.
Yeah.
Not because they're a coward, but because they just get fatigued of living like this. They can't see the wound. They don't understand how their brain has changed. What you don't understand, what the problem is, you can't fix it because there's no solution for it. So there's three things at play here, Mike. One, childhood victim, stayed with him his whole life. Two, refused not to help his patients. And three, he had Asperger's. So if you've ever met anybody with Asperger's, one of the most amazing elements of their character is an ability to not let go once they get their attention on something.
Yeah.
So 19 years of, I am going to figure this out. Many people would bail after a year or two. Many people would never figure it out. 19 years from 1990 to 2009. And I don't even think he realized how amazing the invention is. And we saw it. I mean, he passed 4 years ago. He saw 11 years of just incredible stuff. So let me share with you just a couple things that are really fascinating about this journey.
Absolutely.
Every day is a journey of taking care of people. Every day is a journey of taking care of people of all walks of life. So we work with the elite military, Special Forces, Navy SEALs, Border Patrol, BORTAC, BORSTAR. We work with the Department of Justice, the FBI, the Hostage Rescue Team. We work with first responders and SWAT, firefighters. So every day, like tomorrow, I'm speaking to the Sheriff's Association. Last Monday, I spoke to 36 people with stage 4 cancer. Keeping people alive that have been given a notice by their medical oncologist to get your affairs in order. And I get to look them in the face, low energy state, they're struggling, and say, guess what? Start making plans because you're staying alive. I said, NuCalm ain't curing cancer. That's not what we're doing. But we're going to liberate the stress, the fear, the anxiety, the confusion, the overwhelm, the expectation, and we're going to give you restorative sleep. We're going to give you 2 functional tools that your body's been begging for, but your monkey mind won't release control.
Yeah.
And we're going to give your body the tools it needs to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So every month at the Comprehensive Cancer Wellness Program, led by the MD, PhD, Dr. Janet Ranicky, who's an amazing, amazing angelic force of nature. Every month, NuCalm has been a part of this as a foundational therapy for cancer for 11 years.
Wow.
So 2 months ago, we kicked off the call. It was through Zoom. And she said, Jim, today we have a special guest. And he names her name and says, she was here at the first program. I have goosebumps right now. In October of 2014, she was given 30 days to live 11 years ago.
Wow.
Welcome back. And I looked around and I said, hey, everybody, did you hear that? Start making plans for your 11-year reunion.
Yeah.
We get to do that.
Yeah.
We get to bring the tool of hope and truth and literally help humans survive cancer. So that's another aspect. We work with monks. We work with monks who use our technology to relax. To me, that's an indictment on our society. What? You're a monk. And they'll say, yeah, I'm a monk. But guess what, Jim? We're human.
Yeah.
We may have meditated 100,000 hours and giving our life to service, but we're still human. Our brain still has to go through the stuff.
Yeah.
We work with pilots, the FedEx Pilots Union, pilot fatigue, safety, and restorative sleep. Let's keep these folks alive because they are trying to override the body's natural diurnal process. I travel too much. I'm supposed to be in Las Vegas right now at a movie premiere that I'm in called Biohack Yourself. But I tore my left rotator cuff 10 days ago, helping a woman with her baggage at baggage claim after I flew back to Tampa from California. So I have no left shoulder.
Oh, shoot.
Well, I called them up and said, hey, I can't make it because I'm in pain and I have no left shoulder. But we work with the FedEx Pilot Union. We work with 78 professional sports teams, the best athletes in the world. Now, monks use this to facilitate their meditation. Cancer patients use this to stay alive and heal. Military use it for expedited recovery without drugs. Make sure that my brain and my training is fully accessed so that I can be on point for the mission despite chaos around me. And to the athlete, it's mental and physical recovery. The Chicago Blackhawks credit the 2013 and 15 Stanley Cup championships to NuCalm on record. Which begs the question, what are you talking about? And the trainer said, listen, we want our players to play intense, not tense. Okay. It allowed each player not only to physically heal from inflammation, lactic acid, bumps and bruises, but also mentally clean the slate. You had a bad game, you gave up a game-winning goal against your arch nemesis in game 4. Guess what? Tomorrow's a new day. You hear athletes talk about it all the time, but this is a tool that allows them to do it. Think about this. What do you think these players are listening to when they're coming into the arena? It's not Bach and Beethoven. It's not hip hop. They're listening to Ignite, a track we built in 2016. In fact, Tony Robbins and I trained the Washington Capitals together. They went on Stanley Cup. We put their training on top of our physics, and it's in the NuCalm app. It's called Certainty. You can listen to Tony training the Washington Capitals. The next year, we had so much fun. We trained the Golden State Warriors in a hotel room in Oakland for 5 hours. They went on to win the NBA World Championship. We took that training, put it on top of our physics, put it in the app. That's called Gratitude. You literally have Robbins in your pocket. You put it on the app, you select Ignite, headphones on, and you're listening in the background. It's the Golden State Warriors yelling as they're, coalescing as a team. So we work with professional athletes. We work with kids today. Adderall, Ritalin, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, confusion, isolation, lack of communication, living through the filter of someone else's life. Wouldn't want to be a kid right now. Granted, I wouldn't mind being a little younger than 56, but I'm not sure 14 years old is really in my ballywick right now. So we work with kids, we work with moms, we work with dads. So that's one of the coolest things about this and one of the biggest life lessons I've learned from this enterprise. And that is the fabric of all of us, 8.4 billion people on this earth, have the same experience. Your stress and your stressors are unique to you. Okay. Your epigenetics, your surroundings, your family, your nutrition, that's you. Stress response, as soon as there's a stress, it's a physiological same thing that happens to me. The same exact experience happens to me inside my brain and body that happens to you.
Gotcha.
That's fascinating.
It is.
And so we have a tool that's the only product in the world that can liberate you from stress. And this isn't a Band-Aid. We're solving your stress response. We go right to your midbrain. We unplug the amygdala. We shut down the HPA axis. We slow down your brainwave function to 4 hertz, and the body heals. And the body gets up and says, thank you. Doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
You have peace of mind. You feel mentally clear. You can get through. It just gives you resilience and endurance.
Yeah.
So how cool is that? I mean,
It's unreal, man. It's unreal. And, like I said, I'm literally using it. I haven't done all of the things that are on the menu. So I haven't done rescue. I'm looking forward to it. But the only thing I've used is deep sleep, and it's having a profound effect on me. I can't wait to do the rest. That's just awesome. That is just awesome.
Rescue, power nap, and flow state are immersive. You put an eye mask on, you lay down, safe, comfortable place. 20, 30, 40 minutes, your mind wanders. You literally restore. It's like a reboot.
Mm-hmm.
Great for the afternoon. So that it's a Monday, you had a busy morning, you had a lot on your to-do list, you're starting to fall behind, you're starting to feel anxious. You go, you unplug, you get up, you feel amazing, and you're highly efficient. Focus is active oriented. Headphone on. While you're working, it tunes your brain to 18.4 hertz, which is no distraction, ability to encode new information, and it makes you a mental superstar. It's amazing. People love focus. Ignite amplifies you. Ignite's fascinating. It takes you to the highest level of 41 hertz. You have a mental acuity and a certainty about you, but physically your endurance and your strength are optimized.
Wow.
So from 2016 to 2021, this was not available to the public. We did not allow that. We had 998 Special Forces operators and professional athletes sign a non-disclosure agreement, and they had confidential access to this whole platform. Nobody else could use it. So we know what it's capable of doing.
Yeah.
People use that for pre-workout. So say, you're going to work out today at 4:00 and it's Monday. Around 3:15, Mike, your brain's going to start coming up with reasons why you don't have time to work out today.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the amygdala, right? It's no. Let's not do that.
Yeah. So instead of dealing with that conversation, which I call the itty bitty shitty committee,
right?
The committee behind all our eyes, it's like, I just put Ignite on.
Yeah.
So I don't need a pre-workout accelerant or something that's not good for my body. Put Ignite on, and you're literally, before you know it, I'm in my Peloton shorts and those weird shoes, and I'm walking around my house ready to go. And during your workout, okay? So for Ignite, for me, I listen to it in the morning with my coffee or as a replacement to coffee. Then I listen to it pre-workout and during my workout. And then you got the deep sleep. And deep sleep took 9 years to invent. 9 years. Because we wanted to invent a tech that didn't require a headphone.
Yeah.
Everything else, a headphone is optimal. But for deep sleep, just a speaker in your bedroom, press play, and you're off to the races. So you have an opportunity in front of you, an exploration of how a tool can help make you the best version of yourself, from focus to energy, to creativity, to recovery, repair, to healing, everything.
Yeah. Like my back, I've had a bad back forever, and my back feels better. And I have a therapy appointment every Saturday on my back for an hour and a half. And my therapist this last Saturday said, "What's going on with you?" I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, your back's not as tied up. It's not as knotty. It's not as, and knotty, I mean, in terms of knots, you don't have a lot of the lumps and knots and muscle spasms that you normally have. And I said, the only thing I can think of is NuCalm. And she's like, "What's that?" And so I spent the next hour explaining to her what NuCalm was and how cool it is and what my experience has been, and she's signing up. She's going to be a subscriber. So, it's for real. It's the real deal. And the best thing about this is I'm really, really, really glad that we had an opportunity to get your story on the Mike Litton experience, and also the story of Dr. Holloway. It's important, I feel like, that people understand that there's a cause and effect in life, and having your life story and knowing where Dr. Holloway is coming from, his life story too, is really absolutely invaluable. And, I'm one of the biggest Tony Robbins fans you ever met in your life. He actually certified me 35 years ago in sales mastery, and I became a lifelong fan. And so it's really cool that you get to work with him. So
I was just with him in Abu Dhabi.
were you?
So Tony and I have been friends for 10 years. And in 2015, a book was authored about NuCalm.
Yeah.
It was written by Dr. Michael Gallitzer. Now, Michael Gallitzer is the doctor who introduced me to Tony.
Okay.
So I've been friends for 10 years. And Michael writes this book. And I called Tony. I said, Tony, Michael just wrote a book about NuCalm. I want you to write the foreword. So Tony said, sure, I'll write the foreword. And then at this point, we'd been working with monks for a while. So the Yogananda monk who trained the Beatles on meditation, I called him up. I said, hey, I'd like you to write the preface of the book about NuCalm. Yeah. So we have a book here. It's about the discovery and the invention of NuCalm, neuroscience. It talks a lot about the biology of addiction.
Yeah.
The foreword is written by a nuclear reactor of energy in the form of Tony Robbins. Yeah. And the preface is written by a monk. Both humans using the same technology to derive benefit.
Yeah.
That's a mind bender. I'm like,
it really is. It really is. Yeah.
And Tony,
it blows your mind.
You know, when I first met Tony and I went to his house, Sage came out and she gave me a big hug and she said, you saved my husband's life. I was like, what? She said, he cannot stop. He can't quiet it down. He can't slow down.
Yeah.
And every morning at 4:30 in the morning, he's on his back and he's on your product. And it's the only respite he gets.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. No, it's true.
And he's been using it for 10 years. So
yeah. I'll bet you've never met anybody with the energy he has. Just incredible.
No, I have not. Or the size. I mean, his hands like shaking a catcher's mitt. It's hilarious. I'm not a small guy. I'm like, Tony, what? I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah. He's a big guy.
He's huge and he's got a great heart. I really enjoy him as a human being.
I can only imagine. I'm looking forward to meeting him one of these days. Thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. This has been an absolute ride. I have had such a great time, and I'm super, super excited to work with you in the future.
Thank you for having me. I haven't thought about my story in my life in a long time, so it's fun to sit with you and reflect and share with your audience kind of the journey that we're all on, because it's an amazing life we get to live.
I agree. It's awesome. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.